recording for YouTube. That's what I'm doing right now. Now, the recording for the YouTube is doing the thing. Behave yourselves in chat. I know you won't, but I have to ask you to. And, yeah. Murderdrones. Episode 2 out of whatever it is. Two episodes of Murderdrones. So, as I was talking to chat about before starting it on this, I have heard, it has been said to me, that Murderdrones improves substantially over time, right? That the animation gets better, that at one point, apparently they switch lead animators, which seems to have a big effect on it. And honestly, at this point, that's my main interest in the show. Like, my main interest is just seeing the extent to which the technical quality of the animation improves. The first episode did not, like, it sold me on some parts of the show. Like, I like the conceits of the character design style. Like, I like the Sonic the Hedgehog-ass OC character design style of the thing. Like, I can see why that's appealing. Like, occasionally there is a joke that lands, like the fucking wiping away the tear with the fake mustache. So, like, there are bits of it that are sort of like, okay, that's cool. Not enough that I would want to watch the show recreationally myself, but I will watch it as an exercise in just looking at a piece of interesting indie animation. Now, again, maybe I'm going to run out of steam with episode 2. Who knows? Like, my brain, it's kind of random. Like, I have started reaction series before and just kind of dropped them because I lost interest in whatever the thing was. That could still happen here, but I want to focus on the animation quality. I want to focus on how that changes and develops, and I want to moderate my criticism. For one thing, because, like, Glitch Studios has already moved on from the show, right? They've already learned their lessons from doing the show. They've gotten better. The Amazing Digital Circus is operating at an extremely high level. The Gaslight District is operating at a astonishing fucking level, like, genuinely astonishing. So, like, criticizing the episodes is like it's, there is an extent to which it's pointless. They have already fixed the issues, right? Like, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. That being said, if you're watching this and you're a Murderdrones fan, you should prepare yourself for me spending a bunch of time nitpicking bits of animation that I find interesting because something isn't working. Prepare yourself for me nitpicking things a bunch because I think they don't work, and it's interesting to me to discuss why they don't work. Please don't take that as, like, me just beating on the show or focusing on negativity. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to look at what I find interesting here. And sometimes you find things interesting because of the flaws that exist in them. I'm going to try and also point out things that the show does well. This is a problem I have sometimes, is sometimes when something's just, like, well done or competent, I don't, like, what am I supposed to say about that? Like, oh, hey, that was okay, that was good. Like, sometimes that feels a little bit redundant because there's not much to say about it, and when something's just done correctly, it becomes kind of invisible, right? And so sometimes my reactions have a tendency to feel negative towards certain things, or, like, it can happen, and I understand that that's annoying if you're a fan of something, or if it's very dear to your heart. Please understand that when I am going in on things like that, it's not because I think it's shit, or that people shouldn't be a fan of it, or that anyone is stupid for liking it. It's because I am engaging, and I am interested, and I am curious about why, oh, this thing isn't working? Why? Why isn't it working for me? And that's the kind of thing that I want to discuss. Also, like, I've taken my meds today, which is, you know, good thing for me to remember, and they haven't worn off yet. So who knows what tangents I'm going to be running off on here today. But I am curious. I'm curious about the ways in which the show changes. I'm very curious about how the way they handle their mocap especially changes over the course of the show. Because I don't think I spotted mocap in the Digital Circus or the Gaslight District. Like, I don't think I spotted it. I would imagine they take a lot of reference, like, because most animators do. Like, animators, when they're trying to figure out how to play a scene or how to animate it, they'll usually act out the scene physically in order to get reference footage, and then they'll use that as a basis to craft a performance from. And that's one of the things. That's one of the things I like to say, is that every animator is an actor. All of them. Like, anyone who animates anything, like even inanimate objects and shit, they are actors. Like, their job is to do the acting, but sort of in the same way that a puppeteer does acting through a puppet, an animator does acting through, like, their animation rig, or acting through like their line work and the precision with which they put things down. And I'm curious the extent, like, because when you're dealing with mocap footage specifically, unlike a pure keyframed animation where it's the animator themselves like working out this thing primarily, that's something that's more akin to rotoscoping, right? Where what you have is a physical actor, a human being who performs a physical sequence, which is then traced very directly into the software, like whether that's by tracing over like footage, the way that Disney used to do for their movies, or whether that's by having a computer like with little tracking balls and a suit tracing the performance. And part of the actor's craft then is choosing which parts of the captured performance do we leave untouched, like which parts of the captured performance serve the purpose of what the character is supposed to do, and which ones do we kind of smooth out or cut things away a little bit or reduce parts of that or just edit it. Like, because when you take all of that motion capture footage, you can edit that footage. You can cut out certain beats, certain bits of what a actor is doing in the suit and replace it with other bits and stitch it together. That's part of the artwork. That's part of the acting performance. That's what I'm curious about. I don't imagine that episode 2 is going to be like a revolutionary sea change from episode 1, but I guess we'll find out. I've turned the subtitles yellow, by the way, just because I like it better.
We've got to curb her trips to the dump. And where's she getting the hair to play dress up with them? Creepy.
Okay, I feel like I have missed something in the interim. Okay, we're jumping in medias res into something very different than where we left off. Aesthetically very different. Well, actually, there are certain parts of the aesthetic that are consistent. Right? We're still dealing with like this heavy chiaroscuro, like I say chiaroscuro, that's probably not the right word. Like the sort of Tenebrous sci-fi lighting style that they had in the first episode is still very much present here. All the lights are glowing, right? Like all the lights are glowing and bleeding. There's this, all of these lens flare effects are still present in the show, and there's still this emphasis on like noir aesthetic, like deep shadows, bright lights in the thing. So like there is a consistency. There is a consistency there, but this is definitely... So, I guess this is back on Earth, or some memory of a previous iteration, and maybe he was sent on the murder mission as punishment for being an incompetent robot or something? Does this imply that all of the humans back on Earth are like sort of Victorian era, like snooty-ass dipshit aristocrat motherfuckers, all of whom are wearing hats indoors? I kind of love that. But on the other hand, they look glitchy in the visual effect as he's like running away. So I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of ghost memory. Who knows? But let's have a look at the animation. Yeah, because that definitely feels a little bit different than the way the mocap looked before. Huh. I'd need some acting performances. Yeah, that looks more mocap-y from a distance, anyway. Did they reuse parts of these assets for the Murder Mansion Digital Circus one? That would be kind of funny to go back and see if they, like, just straight up recycled the assets. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of... Yeah, you can see the sliding a little bit here, right? The way the foot plants and then slides around. So there's definitely still those mocap artifacts where you can tell, like, they're sort of are like, what I would imagine is that in the mocap, the actor was just walking straight ahead and maybe didn't do the rounding of such a sharp corner. And then in the actual putting together the thing, they needed him to sharply round a corner, so they had to sort of like, whoop, possibly.
It's okay. Sorry. I wasn't looking.
Like, you get it? It's a meet cute, and there's literally sparks flying between them. Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? That's cute. That's adorable. But yeah, like, in terms of if this is back on Earth, or whatever, if or at least memories of being back on Earth, or dreams or nightmares of being back on Earth, like, it would make sense in the context of these sort of Victorian aristocrat dipshits would dress them up like maids as playthings. Like, that would make sense as a piece of sort of character design, like character design as world building.
Oh, it's so okay. Sorry. I wasn't looking.
And there is something potent, like, again, I don't know if I'm giving the show too much credit or I'm reading too far ahead, but there would be something potent to that, right? Like, the idea that you create these robots and you make them look like little toy robots on purpose, right? And then you forcibly dress them up in ways that are specifically more pleasant to human beings, as like that's an effective, like, sort of effective visual metaphor for like forms of enforced conformity, dehumanization through like through control over a person's expression. It's definitely something you could work with.
Move it, moron. Hi, Tessa. Oh no. Another one?
Yeah, so we're in some kind of digital nightmare, it looks like. Yeah, like this, I think it's, I don't know how much of it is motion capture based, but you see how much more still the characters are allowed to be? And how much, like, compare and contrast with, like, the acting performances in the previous episode, which could sometimes be a little bit like never really standing still. There's a lot more allowance for stillness here. And that, in turn, works better with their robotic nature. They've also done a bit of Foley, like you can hear the little like the little rope, like the little robot noises of them moving. Motion blur, my beloved.
Move it, moron. Hi, Tessa. Oh no. Another one?
Very much sort of horror coding the imagery. We get this, like, scrolling code text, which is, like, also an effective way to sort of communicate that we're in digital memory. He sleeps hanging upside down like a bat. Okay, I will admit I kind of love that. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more. Right? Like, you see the way that, like, the easing on the hand as he, like, holds his face and then puts it out. That is, like, it's much more robotic. It's much more. There's more stillness. There's more, like, it feels much more keyframed. Presumably, like, again, I don't know how much they base the animation on motion capture, but I'm already liking this a lot better from a technical perspective.
Found something in here.
Yeah, like, they do little, like, you can see it there, like, when he's startled, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Like, there's a slight mechanical settling in it, right? Like, it's not, he doesn't get scared like a person where he kind of goes, oh, he kind of goes, like, he sort of shifts from one position to another. It feels hydraulic. This is a lot better. I will also say, the visuals look a lot clearer to me now that we're out of the digital realm. The previous episode was often, like, the first episode was often very muddy because there was just so many lighting effects happening all the time everywhere on screen. I talked about this, right? So much glow, so much lens flare, so much everything. It feels like they've cleaned it up. Right? There's still glow and stuff, but you probably shouldn't be able to do that to a mirror with your eye.
That's weird and concerning. Bite me. This is probably you weirdo's fault. I've never seen that symbol before.
She has a little bubble blow. More gags. Like I said, I want more gags like that. I want her to have more incredibly weird specific.
Wanna do an autopsy to find out?
What'd you find?
Okay, we're still doing the creepy zoom in, but at least we're not letterboxing it anymore.
Find out?
What'd you find?
Did you know that was a pilot hat?
I was the pilot? That's awesome! I crashed and ruined everything.
Oh, no, we're still letterboxing. Okay.
Spaceship pilot. Origin story.
Okay, we're doing it way too much, actually. Okay, you... That's too many times. Like, once is okay. Twice is starting to get on my nerves. 3 is... Get another visual way to punctuate your emphasis.
Speaking of piloting to Earth, we sure murder all humans is, morality?
The humans sent you without a communication relay and reformatted your memories to soup. Covering their tracks means they're past negotiating. Not like they tried negotiating with my mom. Or you missed the negotiations. The humans programmed us to solve a problem. Where's proof of your backstory? The one where you're kind so conveniently innocent.
Jay was getting orders from someone. If not the company through that relay, then, who? And how?
I like that. That's very good. Like the little loading thing that then spawns into, like, the vein. That's very good. I should take a look at the mouth animation as well. Because we're still doing the sort of Sonic the Hedgehog thing.
The soup. Covering their tracks means they're past negotiating.
Yeah, they're still doing the Sonic the Hedgehog thing.
Tried negotiating with my mom.
And they do way too many of those dramatic camera push-ins. Like, that feels very much like they found a new trick and they can't stop using it because, like, oh, I have this new trick, I can use it everywhere. A throbber, yes, that's what they're called.
Or you missed the negotiations. The humans programmed us.
We're also still operating with, like, a mixture of...
Past negotiating.
Right, like, you can see the way that, like, the camera is conceptualized as a physical object in the scene sometimes, right? We have the occasional static shot like this, which I like. But then we also have, like, the the camera doing a lot of reacting to what's happening in the scene. And we get shots like these with, like, the simulated handheld wobble on it, right? Which is, like, again, that's about creating point of view. That's about creating perspective, putting the camera in the scene. It feels more motivated here. Like, they seem to be better at, like, cutting to
Bite me.
something like this, like, for an establishing shot.
This is probably you weirdo's fault.
And keeping the camera still when it needs to be kept still. But then, like... But then we do that, like, with the camera all of a sudden comes alive and pushes in with these digital effects. And that's another inconsistency that's sort of, like, where I feel it would be better to have a cohesive philosophy of what is the camera. Are we treating the camera like it is a physical camera that is present in the scene that someone is operating? Or are we treating the camera like it's the eye of God, right? Like, and that doesn't have to be, like, consistent throughout the whole show. But I feel like it's better if it's consistent, like, from scene to scene and emotional beat to emotional beat.
Did you know that?
Which it kind of isn't with all of these push-ins and all of this, like this repeated motif of, like, pushing in, the character has an extreme state of mind, and then they snap back to an unextreme state of mind. Because it loses impact. Like, it's the thing that happens with anything, right? It loses impact if you do it too much.
Like they tried
right? By this time that they do it, it's like, okay... It loses the sense of emotional impact because it just becomes a normal part of the texture, right? This shot also is like, it's a very dramatic shot of the chain to sort of establish that she's chained down. Okay, cool. But again, there's that, like, all of a sudden we're almost switching into, like, a handheld camcorder style of rendering with like this twisting and like this lens flare, screen shake. Where like I feel like a static, like a placid camera shot could do it better.
Someone. If not the company through that relay, then who and how?
Quit complicating my murder plan.
Yeah, the character animation is immediately much better. And much more controlled.
Yeah, just fix her up, cause whoops, pretty big security risk in hindsight. You got this, ladder bot 5,000?
Please, just leave the lights.
Right, because it's presumably that dead murder bot is going to come back to life is the thing. Did they just leave the rifle there? Oh, okay. Yeah, the camera's much more disciplined, definitely. Like, I know I was harping on it, but it's definitely much more disciplined. Yeah, some nice choices of, like, cinematographic angles as well. Like, it feels like it feels like whoever was doing, like, storyboarding and layouting on this has upped their game. Man, these people are just so bad at security. I'm sorry, you just left the corpse there? I do like the mixture. We sort of talked about that with the obelisk, right? In the first episode, that it had sort of a little bit of an H.R. Giger aspect to it, where there was some real, like a real sense of organic, what's the word I'm looking for? Softness to it. Like an organic ability to warp. They seem to be pushing further into that here with the implication that, I guess, assuming that's one of the murder drones, we don't really get a good look at the corpse, but presumably it is. With the implication that somewhere in there, there's like biotechnology, and it's not just all liquid metal, but we're actually, like, I guess the implication being that there are human organs, that it's a cyborg situation. Parent-teacher conferences, aka That Explains a Lot. Supported grades 1 to 12.08 beta.
Mr. Doorman, your daughter has been absent.
Yes. On that kill all humans kick, like when I was younger. Grounded herself and all that.
Speaking on her behavior.
Of course. Precocious, popular, supernatural understanding of doors. Takes after her old man.
Uzi, please sit normal.
Fight me!
Uzi, give Brayden back his sentience.
Fight me! Her. I started it, and also I'm done.
Uzi, you have to partner up.
Several people wanted to, for the record.
No, he didn't. You freak us out.
But mostly bite me!
Yeah, she has trouble fitting in. We think there might be something damaged with her programming. How is she at home?
I am a little surprised that we actually do cut back to, like, the classmates and all. They felt very perfunctory in the first episode. Like, they felt like they didn't really feel like they mattered at all. Yeah, there's a lot of changes to the way they handle the lighting. I will say, like, they're holding on to, like, this sort of sci-fi dark and glow, but they've definitely balanced out the levels a lot more now, so that it's not like pitch black shadows and pure white lights or pure blue lights that are sort of like screaming through the darkness. So we have like a much more neutral tone. happening here.
That kill all humans kick, like when I was younger. Grounded herself and all that.
Speaking on her behavior...
Of course, of course. Precocious, popular, supernatural understanding of doors takes after her old man.
A slight inconsistency there in that a major sort of like background gag in the previous episode was that he doesn't give a shit about her, right? He only cares about doors. He thinks that she's a disappointment and he doesn't care about her. Now he's talking a lot more like, well, I mean, that could just be a parent performing at a parent-teacher conference, but... Okay, I do appreciate that. Everyone does hate you, and it's all they ever talk about together, right? Compliment accuracy, minus 0.06%. What's their game? Why are they complimenting me? Critique accuracy, 110%. Finally, some quality data. That's a solid little background gag.
Uzi, please sit normal.
Bite me.
Sit normal.
I get the sense that this is the catchphrase, huh?
Uzi, please sit normal.
Bite me.
Uzi...
Another decent little background gag. They can't figure out captchas. Very good.
Give Brayden back his sentience.
Fight me. Her. I started it, and also I'm dumb.
Uzi, you have to partner up.
Several people wanted to, for the record.
No, he didn't. You freak us out.
But mostly bite me.
Out.
I like the animation on the little trash can. There's a nice cartooniness to that. Like, they maintain the rigidity of the object. They don't deform it. They don't, like, squash and stretch it. They just do a lot of, like, very empathetic sort of, like, or emphatic bouncing of the lid. That's quite good.
Yeah, she has trouble fitting in. We think there might be something damaged with her programming. How is she at home?
Sorry? I mean, she's a little herself, but damaged? I maybe haven't spent much time.
Mr. Doorman, sir, there's been an incident.
Ugh, I'm sweaty! Who programmed that?
You good, Uzi?
I'm good. Better than good. I am God! Hi, Dad. Thank you.
Why is he here?
Of course, he. N&Ms. You saved my life. I don't think the colony's even serious about all this banishment stuff. More just confused, especially with...
The fact I'm too rogue to re-enter society now? I can never return.
The recent disappearances and your murder friend's corpse. When I went to grab your gun, it kind of looked like it crawled away.
There's another good little acting thing. Like, again, like using the wiggling fingers
Crawled away?
as emphasis. That's a nice little acting choice.
Little?
Yeah. It definitely has curbed also... The dialogue is definitely better in the sense that it feels less like it's just a series of, like, bits that are sort of strung together to give the plot an excuse to move forward. Really don't like the handheld... Like, again, here it feels like the camera is handheld primarily in order to react to the blowing wind, right?
Of course, he.
And it just gives the whole scene like an air of instability that it kind of doesn't need for the actual action that's happening.
I don't think the colony's even serious about all this banishment stuff. More just confused, especially with...
The fact I'm too rogue to re-enter society now? I can never return.
The recent disappearances and your murder friend... And your murder...
Yeah, also the Foley on the camera motion is like a little bit.
We can return a little.
Yo, ladder about 5,000? We looked everywhere for you.
Hello, Tim. Care to join me?
Join you standing eerily still over there in suspiciously low resolution?
Yes? Alright.
We're still doing bits though, but that is like like in terms of just the cinema of it is a much more effective bit.
Alright.
Is there like a minimal bit of squash and stretch on the pull there, or are they just doing a bit of delayed reaction? Yeah. This is a very effective shot. I quite like that. Like with the claw coming out. And again, like here we see like a bit of character design, much more organic aspect to this regenerated murder drone. Yeah, nice trailing action on a lot of like the quick movements.
Improv game for more practice?
We are a monster.
I quite like the way they handle the flight. Like, it's a little inconsistent at times. Like, sometimes it seems like like with the wings, they're able to just kind of hover and do whatever the fuck they want in the air. But I like the weight of the handling here, right? That we see these clear curves that line up with, like, a fall, then a wing beat, and then the wing beat is, like, the thing that gives momentum for the rise. And then we do a little bit of coyote time. You can see, like, Ed just kind of stops in the air here and hangs until he's ready, and then gravity kicks in, like, all at once. But then we get that big satisfying ka-chunk, right, with the landing.
Welcome back, Thad. Wait, isn't she grounded or something?
Ugh, banished! Has my dad been saying I'm grounded?
Genocide robot? Oh, all right. Just don't do it again. Get in here, you goobs. Yeah, where's Khan? Because this looks not ideal.
Parent-teacher conference? Something about his daughter being more important than building a door in this hallway. Ugh, kinda cringe.
Ew, yeah, ugh. Oh, give me a minute. Yeah, okay, almost threw up.
You good?
I'm good. Stop asking.
Any forensic things over there? Do we have fingerprints?
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, there's such a thing as taking a gag a little far. Surely she wouldn't notice she was holding a hologram.
I mean, you don't think it's my parenting, do you? I left her for dead once. It sounds like she's bored in your class, and the other kids suck.
Here's another good visual gag. I quite like that. Playing solitaire on the interface.
Your class, and the other kids suck. Call her damaged again, and I will install a door on your face!
Where are your folks?
Мертвые. Я смотрела, как они умирали.
Thank you for translating.
That was the joke, idiot? That girl is gorgeous, right? I'm gonna let her in.
Oh God.
You guys do that often?
No, I'm very concerned, but also pretty frightened a little bit.
Hey, Z, what's this thing?
Hey, isn't that your special eye?
Don't call it that.
Let's see. Absolute solver. Host reboot failed. 675. Insufficient material.
Isn't that
Sys
your
error.
special eye?
Don't call it that.
It's a Sharingan. It's not a special eye.
Absolute solver? Reboot? Does this have something to do with how you grew your head back?
I actively avoid unpacking how that works.
New material can't be pulled from thin air. If the wound is severe enough, this solver might be some sort of auto-run program to collect more matter.
Oh, I like that. Bye, Thad. Aw. I thought for sure he was going to get pulled. Oh, well. So that is interesting as a bit of animation. There's definitely a gliding vibe with it, which kind of makes sense in terms of, like, it's slithering. How did they do that? It's a little hard to tell because the light is so blown out on it. Did they, like, texture scan an actual human hand and just basically implement it over, like, a mocapped model of someone wait, how did they do that? How did they do that? I would be curious. Again, this is where, like, my limitations on my knowledge about 3D are sort of annoying me, because, like, the light is very blown out, right? Like, the light is very blown out. It's hard to really make out the texture detail, which is probably helping it from looking too uncanny. But that looks like a distressingly realistic hand. Like, this is not like the Thing from the Addams Family. This is... like, you see the detail just around, like, the edge of the nail there, like the grubbiness and the skin folds and the whole of the thing. Like, that's a very naturalistic hand model that they're using here. That's interesting. That's very cool. Like, and again, we talked about, like, biological, mechanical contrast, right? Like, that whatever this creature is regenerating into, it seems to be, at least temporarily, taking on a much more organic form rather than the strictly mechanical. So I very much like that as a visual point of contrast, right? Specifically, like that the human and the biological is constructed visually specifically as a horror element. Like, to some extent, it's like a simple riff on, like, the Thing. Especially with the taking on the identity of whoever it eats thing. Oh! See, this is why you shouldn't have that sci-fi lighting. By the way, those lens flares are still too much. This is why you shouldn't have sci-fi lighting in your base. You need to actual proper floodlights, like soft lighting, properly spaced in the ceiling, so that you have like a loose natural lighting profile over the whole thing, so that horrifying murder robot centipedes cannot hide under the ceiling. That was a good reveal. Oh, there he goes. Ninja Star!
I want a freaking ninja star.
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of like how frantic the camera work gets sometimes in the name of like emphasizing the action. I feel like it leads to a lack of clarity. I'm still fascinated by that hand, though.
I want a freaking ninja star.
You can really see the visual effects. Like, this is why I don't like blurring as like a aesthetic thing.
You good?
Stop asking! Chainsaw hand time?
Yeah, cool.
That's a human skeleton. Oh, right, because they're around all the time. I guess some of them are indoors as well. Yeah, again, that uncanny gliding effect. As, like, the motion data doesn't quite match the environment, and that leads to them running at, like, an inconsistent speed, right? Like, they go around the corner. They kind of glide in the air a little bit, slide over the ground here as the camera pans faster than their actual models move. But then when we pan to like this longer shot, all of a sudden, like, his run feels like he's kind of running in place a little bit because it's just not lining up quite correctly. So there's still those little compositing problems.
Yes, and hello, it's me, Tad. Can I get a location? I heard dentist's office. I'm Thad at the dentist's office. Come over here for your teeth.
Predictably terrible work, Jay. Why do you look so...
Great! You look great, Jay.
No, wait, guys, it's really me. Is that a freaking
Ninja star.
Why would you kick it if he's already throwing it? Okay, well, whatever. That felt very much like a less motivated by an action need and more just we thought it would be cool to have someone kick a ninja star in the air, which, like, granted, kicking a ninja star in the air to change its trajectory, that's neat. It feels like something that's more like rule of cool motivated than actually motivated by the needs of the scene.
Lifesavers again. Thanks. Super invited to my shindig next weekend. Cool kids only.
We're busy then anyway, so whatever. So lame.
Hello, Dollar Store Gladys.
What's with the voice, Jay?
Oh, Jay's not here. We are trying to repair that host as per our directive.
So you are a program?
More like you are our cute puppets. It hurts our feelings you don't remember us.
And what's with the mom hologram?
Easier to assimilate than explain.
Not happening.
Fair, but poor choice. Now we will have to do something shocking.
Whoa.
Hey, Dad.
Goodbye, Dad.
Oh, dear.
What?
Uzi, shoot! Or give it to me!
Claw-swipe. Snarl.
Snarl. Very good.
No.
Pranked, idiot. You big stupid. Lucky for you, it's not time. Time to go into my mouth now.
There he is. I was wondering where he'd gone. Okay, so we are just casually murdering her dad. Unless it's just a hologram, again, for more pranks. Certainly that seems to be, like, part of the setup there. Is like, what can you really trust? What can you really believe? I like the character design on this fucking monster. I really, really do. I really like the sort of scarabs, like, not scarabs, centipede ass robot thing that they're doing. Because, like, you look at the construction of, like, the individual ligaments, and we're bringing back, remember the thing we talked about with the character design of the murder drones? The yellow and black, like, stripe lines, right? Like, which are sort of like industrial warning lines of like, oh, be careful of operating heavy equipment or fucking whatever, right? Like, which is such an industrial thing that they're being brought, and then they're bringing that back here, and here on this fucking insect motherfucker, right? It acts more like, oh, these are like the stripes of a bee or like some kind of poisonous insect. They are the warning signals of like some kind of horrible bug. And that's very effective use of like bits and pieces of the character design of the original character to sort of form a monstrous version of it. And like very nice design on like the exoskeleton thing here, because it's a combination of like, on the one hand we have like these insectoid sort of segmented exoskeletal bits, right? Like spider legs or something like that. But then also we get like bits like this where like it splits out, and you can kind of see that over here where it's sort of splitting in the same way that like a femur, and you have like the ball joint of an elbow kind of vibe. So like there's a mixture of the insectoid and something like approaching or approximating an interior human anatomy. I think that's very effective as a bit of like horror monster design. And it's very over the top, right? Like it's very sort of the whole of the scene, right? Like with the tearing of the dad in half and all of that. It's sort of, it's a little bit all over the place with where its emotional beats want to be, right? Because she sees her dad torn in half. Then N comes over like, Uzi, you good? And then like after, like we have this setup, right? Like we set it up, Uzi, you good? Stop asking me that. Uzi, you good? Stop asking me that. And then finally says, Uzi, you good? And then she says, no, and hands over the gun. And then it turns out it's a hologram. And it's a little bit like, okay, like what's the emotional beat we want to process here? Is it the thing of like, I hate my dad, but then I just saw him killed in front of me and now I'm actually affected by it? Okay, that's one emotional beat. Do we want to handle the emotional beat of she is finally willing to turn to N for some kind of emotional support? Or do we want to handle the beat of like she's being ruthlessly manipulated by the robot? They're trying to do all three things at the same time, and it all sort of stumbles over each other, and I don't think any of the emotional beats really register or land fully. As a pièce de résistance, like as a sort of the cherry on top of the pie, I do like using the upper half of the head of Jay as like the head of this centipede beast. That's again like a very effective, because it turns Jay essentially into just like this infinitely open mouth, right? Like that's just like this consuming shell on top of something which is fundamentally just predatory and consumptive. Like you can even see the dripping, right? Like this, like saliva, as like a character design for like a consuming monster that wears the faces of others in order to like get them to let their guard down, which is its bit. That's very effective character design. And they really are playing up a lot, like the organic aspect. And like, it feels like a riff on a surveillance thing with like the multiple cameras. I don't really know that I can parse that completely right now. I also like the speed on this grab here, right? Because, right, like it's this slow wind up where it's raising the leg, and then it just like, then it just whips, right? that's effective timing. Like that make, again, when you want to make a horror monster like this terrifying, manipulating the way that it handles like the speed of its motion is a good way to do that. They're doing that a lot with this creature here. Not always 100% consistently. But you get this mixture of like these languid sort of snake-like slithering motions that then resolve into like these very quick mechanical snapping motions.
And please don't. And also, I was using those.
Ooh, nice little black hole effect.
What was... Which parts of that were real?
Sneaky, sneaky. Sneaking away. Get snuck upon. Ow. Ow. Ow, 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 ow.
What are you things?
Yeah, it was a hologram of her dad. Sure.
What are you doing, huh?
That's a good dramatic gesture with the hands there. Like that little curl. That's effective. Ah, well.
Gorgeous, right? I'm gonna let her in.
Someone has secret superpowers.
Jesus, sorry, industrial strength ghost or whatever. Settle. I hate your personality normally, but this is somehow...
So that's a classic mystery box situation, right? Like it's like, oh, okay, is this because this is a murder drone, or does she have something else going on? Certainly there's some connection. Like this is okay, so we're definitely setting up the kinds of threads that, like, in much the same way people are going absolutely ham theory crafting about the Amazing Digital Circus, this is the kind of thing where people would like, oh shit, there's a mystery here. It's the kind of thing that like fandom wikis are made of.
This somehow worse. What am I...
Again, the emotional... Like, it's definitely much more than the first episode. The first episode was entirely entirely distanced from itself, right? Like, it didn't really have a lot of emotional connection to its characters because every character was doing bits all the time, right? This episode definitely, like, they definitely seem to have immediately sort of committed to, okay, let's try and treat the sort of sarcastic disaffection from especially Uzi as like a character trait rather than just the default mode that everyone is in the world, right? Like, and now we're sort of trying to dive into a little bit more of, okay, what's the emotional reality of these characters? And again, it doesn't quite work because the show isn't really giving room for it. Right? Because you can see the idea here, right? Like, the idea is that N has been sort of continuously trying to be like approach Uzi, like, Uzi, are you good? Like, sort of offer emotional support in some way or another. And now that the scale of horror that might be lurking inside of N's construction is clear, she reacts to him with fear, and that's like a form of rejection, and that's sad. The problem is that's not really set up, right? It's not set up by the first episode. It's not really set up by the second episode. It just sort of comes here at this point of less as a dramatic result of the things that happened and more of like oh, right, when something like that happened, she probably would be really scared of him. But it's not, it doesn't feel like the episode was sort of building to it. It feels like it's just, oh, yeah, right, that also happens because of, certainly that would happen under these circumstances. And so it's like, it makes sense logically, but it doesn't really register dramatically. Same thing here with like, sort of like seeing her dad die. All of a sudden, she's like in need of reassurance from her parent. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It makes perfect sense that would happen. But there was no dramatic build up to it. Like the episode wasn't spending time setting up the emotional context for this to resolve from. And again, there is the tone problem. Especially like the visual tone, especially with this handheld camera, which is wobbling and shaking and constantly unsteady. And especially for a dramatic beat like this, having the camera just standing there like kind of wobbling in air, like that creates a visual instability. Which doesn't quite work for what the scene is trying to emotionally communicate. Because the instability isn't in Uzi or in him. It's just, like, a scene like this, you can use camera shake, right? Like, you could use an unstable camera in this moment of the hug to communicate, oh shit, this has knocked our characters off balance, right? Like, he's shocked, she's off balance, right? You could use a choice of camera shake to communicate that idea, right? That the world has been destabilized by what's happened. But that only works if there isn't unstable camera work absolutely everywhere else in every single other shot. Like, because when it's just standard for so many of the shots, then it loses its ability to do storytelling by distinction, right? Like, it loses the ability to go, something has changed now, this shot is different now, that difference means something. That only works if it's actually different, and it's not. And so instead, you just get this scene of like a daughter hugging her parent really tight, where the camera is kind of going, oh, I'm not on a tripod, I don't have a tripod, And I just don't think it dramatically works. Kind of the same thing here. Like this shot right here. We're cutting back to the classroom where the Russian doll is sitting there alone. And again, we're affecting a POV shot, right? Like, we're sort of inside of the teacher's perspective, basically, sitting behind the desk. We have the handheld camera wobble, and the camera turns almost as though it's like a person who's turning to look at her, right? This is our establishing shot to tell us we have cut to a different location. But what the establishing shot is telling us is that we have cut to a different location inside of the perspective of a character. But there is no other character in this scene. There is just her. And the camera immediately swaps over to like this more omniscient sort of perspective that's not a point of view shot. And it's like, yeah, like, so dramatically this, it feels like it's using this kind of shot, this kind of point of view turn camera. It feels like it's using that not because it's dramatically appropriate for the scene, but because, oh yeah, this is what they do in movies. Like, that's what it feels like. That's what it ends up feeling like, is that it's aping the aesthetics of filmmaking from better movies without the understanding of why those dramatic instruments are used. And again, like for web animation, that's pretty normal, right? Like web animation, like certainly independent work, fan fiction, like things like that, they are often built off of that. Like we have these, like these things look cool. I want to use them in my thing because then my thing will also look cool. And then there's that little bit of disconnect between like the craft and the aesthetic of the thing. That's very normal. And certainly to be expected. But again, it's one of those things that you just don't really see in Glitch's later work, right? Like Digital Circus, for example.
Right? I'm gonna let her in.
Again, here's that POV shot. And then we get these push-ins. Yeah.
Jesus, sorry, industrial strength ghost or whatever. Settle.
It's an interesting thing also, the obsession with bodily fluids, right? That like we have this subcomponent of vampirism, right? That runs through the murder bots that they kill in part to sustain themselves. They have to kill in order to drink the blood of their victims, in order to like use it as coolant or fuel or whatever, right? And that's like an interesting thing to do as a point of contrast with the fact that they are robots, right? You'd think it's like, could you not just battery packs? I don't know. Like, why do you need like a essentially, why are you engaging in the mode of consumption that is inherent to biological life? Biological life, if you aren't photosynthesizing, you have to eat other things in order to survive, right? Or like do chemosynthesis at the bottom of the ocean by a black smoker vent, whatever. But like most living things on Earth that are like not photosynthesizing, they eat other things to survive. Like we eat plants, we eat animals. I was about to say we eat humans. We do sometimes, an occasional indulgence of our species, but we mostly eat plants and animals. So it's interesting that like the show is making like a very specific thing of like the murder drones have to consume each other, and clearly also this little robot, he drinks the goo of digital bugs or whatever. It's an interesting affectation, like the hanging upside down vampire bat thing. And like, if we're playing with ideas of vampirism, that dovetails okay with like, okay, if the idea is that we're sort of doing a riff on extractive capitalism, that like the distant human species is like sucking the life out of like planets far in the distance by sending out these colony ships to extract resources and bring them home to the metropole. And then the way that the human species is also consuming the robots themselves, right? That you had this universal solver thing, right? Which was extending that logic of consumption, right? Like of using other things as resources to, like, for their own gain, like the parasitic vibe, which like squares with this sort of insect and an arthropod thing that they were doing with the solver, that it's a predator, it eats other things to survive, it preys on other things, it consumes and like uses human connection against them. That's very vampire things, right? Like vampires like are very much based around that same thing. Vampires are often used as like synecdoche or like a metaphor for capitalism, nobility, like anyone who's like livelihood is provided by extracting labor and capital and resources from others, but not by doing any labor yourselves. That could be very effective. Again, I wonder the extent to which that's an active part of the thematic narrative building of what they're doing here, or whether it's just a matter of, well, vampires are cool and drinking blood is edgy and cool, and it's like, yeah, they're drinking blood, they're vampires, they're murdering, yeah. Like whether that's the thing, right? Like whether it's meant to be taken as an aesthetic thematic statement about the nature of these things, or whether it's about this shit looks really cool on camera. Because that's the thing of like, when so much of the rest of the visual language of the thing is bound up in, these are really cool types of shots, these are really cool camera moves, these are cool aesthetics that I've seen in pop culture, and I want to use them too because they're cool. That's an aesthetic fixation, right? So is that aesthetic fixation extending into the narrative? Well, that's a question. And it's hard to see that clearly, at least as of yet. it is only episode 2, and the first episode was clearly very much the pilot in the sense of being disconnected from the thrust of the rest of it.
Normally, but this is somehow worse. What am
Here's another thing. Cinematography, right? What's happening in these two shots is that... What's her name? V? V, right? Yeah. Her head is being posed sort of conspicuously up against, again, this arthropod sort of insectoid organic design of the landing pod, right? And again, often in cinematography, you go, okay, so what the camera is doing is visually identifying her with that, right? Drawing a parallel connection between the two of those things. But again, I'm not so sure if I'm supposed to take that from the shot. Like I'm supposed to go, okay, these two things have a deeper connection, right? Like, these two things are expressive of one another. I don't know. Like, maybe it's just because it's a cool camera shot.
This is somehow worse. What am I being punished for?
Okay, I will say I like that as a gesture, right? That she has already broken free, she's been free the whole time, but she's choosing to pretend as though she's not because she would rather maintain the state. Like, she's curious, or she's interested, or she's been persuaded in some way. Like, as a visual gesture, like, this little thing of, like, the chain is broken, but I'm choosing to sort of pretend like it isn't. That's a good visual metaphor for choosing to maintain a relationship even when you don't have to. And that's like, in terms of character development for this character, that's pretty decent. There's some nice illustrations up here. They got a good graphic artist to do these. Almost a little Gaslight District-y in some of the expressions here, actually. This especially looks a little Gaslight District-y. And again, that intrusion of, like, the biological into the mechanical world. That could be interesting, but I don't know if it is. Yeah, and there we go. So that is more like the first episode of the show, I guess. Where the pilot was more like, here's the world building, here's like the basic narrative setup, and this is like the first episode that's trying to explore something. Again, much like the pilot, the connective tissue is kind of missing, right? The connective tissue of like the emotional core of this episode is supposed to be En and Uzi's relationship, more or less, right? Which begins from a position of, we are together, we're friends, we're doing what we can to, like, we have this mission, we want to go to Earth, we want to kill all the humans, we want to free the robots, etc. And then by the end of it, there's this breaking of the fellowship because, well, it turns out the murder drones are even more terrifying than she thought, and she has this, even though it didn't actually happen, she has this indelible image of one of them killing her dad right in front of her, right? That's sort of the emotional core of what we're trying to establish with En and Uzi here. It just doesn't quite land, because, like, the moment of the murder of the father gets skipped over relatively, really very quickly. And the sort of the attempt of, like, set up a reminder payoff with N's you good, you good, you good. Also, just, it doesn't have time to emotionally register because the show just moves on.
Hey!
Goodbye, Dad.
Right?
Not happening.
Fair, but poor choice. Now we will have to do something shocking.
Whoa! Hey!
Goodbye, Dad.
Right? Like, the visual language of this scene where she sees her father die is much more fixated on the gore and the brutality. it's much more fixated on the gore and the brutality of it. Like, yeah, blood, tear in half. That's what the visual language is focusing on. And we're really just basically not getting anything of Uzi, right? Like, we're not really getting her reaction. We're not really getting close-ups. We're not really getting acting from her to communicate what this is doing to her, or like the feelings that it's bringing up. Like in a more corny show on some levels, like this is the kind of thing where like as the claw comes down, you would like flash to Uzi and there'd be like this, you could do a montage of images of her dad, like something that sort of like makes it visible and clear what's going through her head right now. Like, what is she remembering about her father that makes this moment horrifying for her? But instead, because all we get is the shock value, right? And then we immediately transition to a different emotional beat, right? Like we transition away from this emotional beat without really lingering on it at all. And now we transition to a different emotional beat, which is like, Uzi, you good? And then the betrayal, where it's like, oh, right, she feels like she can't trust him. And then we immediately transition out of that emotional beat when N comes back and saves her. And no time is spent lingering on the actual consequences, right? The actual emotional or like relationship-based consequences of what's happened, because we focus on the action. Like, we want to focus on all the cool shit. And so, like, even here, right? Like, after here, when we have a moment of downtime, of silence, the monster has been defeated, we have a moment of peace and quiet, all we get is...
Which parts of that were real?
There we go. Like, that's all we get for, like, emotional settling here, and then we get a gag, right? Then it's like, now it's joke time. Because the robot is saying funny robot things in a robot voice, and then the robot gets stabbed, and then it says, ow, and then it gets stabbed again, and then it says, ow, and then it gets stabbed many times and says, ow, 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 ow.
Ow. Ow, 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 ow.
And then it's dead. Right? So there's very little time to dwell on or settle on the emotional things that the episode wants to be about, because it's spending so much more time on the eye candy, essentially, and immediately sort of cuts away to set up the mystery, right? Like here, again, after this, when there's the hug, here there's an opportunity. There's a moment for an opportunity for these two characters to have a dialogue scene, to talk to each other, to connect, for Uzi to express something, for her dad to express something, for the acting performance to carry something about the trauma that she's just experienced. But again, we cut away because we have to set up the mystery box. And then we cut to N, who's sad about the thing, and then we cut to Uzi, who's staring at the ceiling. But, like, the resolution, like, the actual emotional catharsis of the things that are happening, just aren't given time to actually really connect. Although I do like that we get a little, like, childish drawing from N on her bedside table. Like, that's nice. It's just the emotional connective tissue that would have made this hit is kind of missing, number one. And number two, again, it's that thing of compression, right? We had the pilot in which they didn't relate to each other at all and didn't really establish much of a relationship because they were doing bits at each other. And then we have this one that sort of proceeds from the assumption of, like, just kind of accept that they have a friendship and a dynamic right now. Just like we didn't have time to actually explore it. Just accept that this is the case now so that we can shock you by breaking their friendship with trauma in episode 2, which is like, maybe that's an emotional beat that you save for a little bit later after you've had some time to build the characters up so that there could be something to break. So, like, definitely rough around the edges still. Like, it's haha, big worm episode. And of course, like, the joke at the end. The joke at the end is fine. Like, it's definitely, you can see what they're going for, right? Like, you can see what they're trying to do. You can see what they're gesturing at, right? And all of that is like, okay, cool. Like, that, I can see how that's supposed to work, how it would work theoretically. But it's just, like, the cohesiveness of it is just not quite coming together from a narrative perspective. Like I said, though, I really am genuinely quite impressed with the improvement in animation already. Like, the pilot episode was characterized, like, and that's still the case Like, that's one of the issues with, like, all of this push-in stuff is, like, the camera is over-animated, essentially, right? And there's still problems here and there with the characters with over-animating, like where the characters are doing much more than they need to the point that it sort of distracts from the main emotional beats, but...
I was the pilot? That's awesome! I crashed and ruined everything. Spaceship pilot. Origin story.
Right, that's over-animation, because we're doing too much and it loses the impact of each individual action. But so much of the character animation is way the fuck better. It's much more restrained. It's much more comfortable with silence and with stillness. It's much more deliberate about where and when it applies motion, and it definitely does a better job of delivering acting performances, even if they still sort of... There's a lack of internal consistency with a bunch of the characters still a little bit. Although that feels like something that will definitely get better with just more time spent with them. And still also a little bit of the Family Guy syndrome, right? Especially like this scene. They don't do that much of it. Like, this one is straight up a Family Guy scene with the cutaway gags, right? Well, not quite Family Guy. Like, this is more continuous than a Family Guy scene is cutaway gag is, but it's like it's still sort of doing that thing of like we cut to a gag, we cut to a gag, we cut to a gag, where we're doing like cartoon humor. And again, the sort of cutting to cartoon humor over and over again undercuts any sense of emotional seriousness in the scene, right? Like, is he actually concerned about her? Is he actually like, oh, is she not okay? Like, has my parenting been bad? Has, like, is some part of this my fault or whatever? Well, we don't really get to linger on that. And again, having a greater sense of the extent to which her dad actually does or does not care about her would inform, like, whether or not this scene hits, right? So there's a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of rough edges narratively, but it is combined with a genuinely kind of astonishing increase in cinematic quality in a lot of places. Like, I will say, like, the layouting and the storyboarding on the camera shots that are chosen seems much better than it was in the pilot. Like, there's much fewer shots where I kind of look at them and go, that's not very well composed, like, or, like, I don't understand what the narrative, like, what the motivation, like, the informational content of this shot composition is supposed to be. So yeah, it is definitely an improvement. I'll watch another episode. Like, I want to see if that improvement like continues linearly. Because like the advancement in craft is fascinating. And like there's definitely a change in vibe also. Like again, like I said, it feels like this episode takes itself a lot more seriously in the sense of it's willing to take the emotional reality of the characters themselves seriously. And it raises that classic question, right? Like, Hell of a Boss sort of had the same thing. We've talked about this before, where Hell of a Boss also opens in a stylistic setting where it's very much, we need a joke a minute. Like, we need a joke every second. Something needs to be funny. Something needs to be undercut. We need to be sardonic. We need to be edgy. Blood needs to happen. Some shit needs to go off. We need to do a sex joke. Like, it starts very much at that place. And then as that show goes on, it becomes more and more comfortable with sitting in feelings to a certain extent and, like, prioritizing feelings as a form of drama rather than comedy or action as a form of drama. And, like, I wonder, like, again, another thing I'd be curious about is, like, where does this end up landing, right? Like, as they keep writing the season and as they keep sort of moving narratively on with the characters, like, does this land in that same space of soap opera? Like, to what extent do they manage to balance out the comedy with, like, the emotional seriousness of what the characters are going through? Because that's a difficult thing to do. Like, I don't know that I have an answer to what the right balance of that should be. I don't think there is one. Like, I don't like where the balance is right now because it feels like the humor and the drama is in conflict with one another a lot. But finding a place where those two things can be in harmony, like, I think that would make this a very, very effective drama, honestly. Because one thing that's definitely one thing that the pilot episode had was a few moments where the gag makes me laugh out loud, right? Like the fucking taking off the mustache to wipe away the tear is a good visual gag, right? The little hyper-specific flag and like gadgets that she has in her arm cannon are a good gag. Those were definitely absent, right? Like, because it's just not throwing nearly as many things at the wall. And I said, like, it would be a pity if by the end, like, the irreverent gag humor has completely disappeared. But it definitely needs to be balanced better. Like, the show I feel at this point the show needs a better understanding of, like, when are we doing comedy, when are we doing drama, and like a clear delineation between the two, so they don't trip on each other. But yeah, interesting. I'm willing to give it another episode for sure. I really do want to see that improvement, because the character animation now, absent the motion capture, right? Like with so much less of that motion capture over animation to work with, at some points the characters, like, in some ways they are less interesting to look at, because like I find the awkwardness and weirdness of motion capture animation interesting to talk about. Because this is much more baseline competent, I feel like I have less to talk about, but it's also less. It's also, again, like at this point, not reaching the heights of impressiveness that you get with the digital circus, like where like stuff like Kane's animation is like genuinely an incredibly interesting expression of like character acting and lip sync with a really weird, like, out there character. Everything here has come kind of down to earth a little bit with the much more clean application of motion capture insofar as they're using it. And so there's also fewer moments that kind of make me go, oh shit, there's something to talk about, because it's more staid, right? Like it's more middle of the road in that way. Curious. Anyway, yeah. I guess I'll watch another episode of that. So subscribe in the comments and the likes and the things if you wanna. Member of the channel, if you're curious, you can do that. Early access to things, other stuff. YouTube things, give me your money, or don't. Maybe don't, actually. You probably need it for other things. And bye.